Another, maybe this is a relatively quick one from the same person, Mohammed, and this is something that I'm interested in myself, which is how do you stay up to date on the big trends and technological breakthroughs, given that AI is so fast moving? I know from your AI Atlas newsletter, which I will, of course, have a link to in the show notes because it's brilliant. I know that you are unusually on top of what's going on in AI and you can explain it with a clarity and a depth that is indicative, clearly, of you really understanding what's going on there and the implications. So, how do you do that? Do you have a structured process or particular kinds of resources that you follow that allow you to be right at the top of um, at these kinds of abilities?
So I will answer it by saying it's a multi-pronged approach. I don't have a silver bullet. B- b- Experience in the space makes a difference. So I'm not learning everything anew. Again, my first investment in AI native in an AI native startup was in 2010. So I have the advantage of being an originalist firm in that regard and team in that we've been deeply steeped in the space. So every disruption is incremental if it's an existing type of technique or net new, but we're not starting from zero. We're starting from a solid foundation. One cannot make much out of that. So put that on the side. Then it's about embedding oneself in that AI cutting edge breakthrough sort of innovation space and surrounding oneself with individuals and groups that are driving that innovation. So what do I mean by that? um, we are deeply involved with especially the academic institutions, think MIT, Harvard, Columbia, Cornell, what have you, even on the West Coast, Berkeley and Stanford, albeit somewhat to a slightly lesser extent, but by being actually affiliated with those institutions and having connections to those super nodes of innovation, and having a number of exclusive advisors to Glasswing that work with Glasswing first and foremost and on an exclusive basis, that are the leaders in this innovation, in the research papers and what's coming out of academia and industry. So that's why what I mean by embed ourselves. So a lot of consumption of information, a lot of surrounding oneself with those folks, and then building our own internal capabilities. What I mean by that is we have internally tools where we look for signaling in papers that are getting published, whether it's out of academic institutions or R&D groups at corporate. We're crawling, we're digesting that information and looking for both signal in terms of what area is gaining traction and keeping ourselves up to date, and then summarizing internally. So we divide and conquer, so one person doesn't is not the owner of all knowledge. We have knowledge sharing and tracking of different areas, and it's not perfect, but we live and breathe the space and automate as much of the information as we can, and then we consume it as best we can, and then knowledge share.
Very cool that you have those in-house proprietary tools for staying on top, for looking for signals. I guess I shouldn't be surprised, but it is something that that is surprising to me. It's something I wasn't expecting that in your answer, but it's a very cool thing to be doing, to be
We've been
leveraging
working
AI yourself. Yeah,
we've
you're
been
dog
working
fooding.
on it. Yeah, we've been working on it for years actually, and that's the other thing, with data sets. How do you balance between the size that's needed, etc., and it's produced some really interesting results in our view. Historically, this will change, I think, but based on and what we have seen on the signaling, I'll give you an interesting data point between a paper being published and for the ones that take off, becoming sort of mass market leverageable. Historically, it's been about 3 to 4 years, which is fascinating. And then, and sometimes more. And then more recently, that's shrinking to 2 to 2.5 years. So this is general. There are exceptions. There are some papers that literally within 3 months made it from academia or the research world to industry, but those are more exceptions. So I give you the data point to say that The question that was posed is there's data to actually substantiate that it's coming at a faster pace. Maybe the papers are not coming at a faster pace, slightly faster, but not that dramatic. The adoption from a paper to transform to technologies, for the ones that do get transformed into technologies and products, it's shortening the time frame.